Hey first graders, welcome back. It's me, Mrs. Lamb. We're here for CKLA Listening and Learning Domain 3, Different Lands, Similar Stories. Recently, we read the stories of Cinderella, who was from France, the girl with the red slippers, who was from Egypt, and we also read about Billy Begg, who was from Ireland. Although these stories come from different countries, these stories were quite similar in many, many ways. The main characters in these stories all lost their shoes. They all dealt with unpleasant treatment from those around them, and they all got married. They all married into royalty, and they lived, I bet you can guess, happily ever after. The next set of stories that you will hear are all folk tales where the main character is no bigger than a thumb. Yes, look how tiny that is. Look at your thumb. Imagine if you were only this big. As you remember from Domain 1, a folk tale is a story that has been told over and over again for many generations and oftentimes has a moral or a lesson for its reader. A lesson is something valuable learned through a character's experiences in a story. The first folk tale that we will hear originated in a country called England many, many years ago. You see it right there on the map in yellow. Today we'll be reading the story of Tom Thumb. And yes, our main character is the size of a thumb. How might being as small as a thumb be useful or helpful? Do you think being as small as a thumb could cause problems? Maybe. Listen carefully to the kinds of adventures that Tom Thumb has. Once there was a farmer who used to sit and poke at the fire in the evening while his wife sat at the spinning wheel. The farmer would sigh and say, "Oh, how sad is it that we have no children. Our house is so quiet, while other people's houses are so noisy and cheerful." "Yes," said the wife, "if only we had a child." A year later, the woman gave birth to a little boy. He was strong and healthy, but he was no bigger than a thumb. His parents named him Tom Thumb. As Tom grew up, he proved to be very clever and intelligent. One day, when his father was going out to cut wood, he said, "I wish there was someone who could bring the cart out later." "I'll do it," said Tom. "But Tom," said his father, "how can you? You're too small to hold the reins." "Never mind," said Tom. "Have Mother harness the horse. Then I'll sit in the horse's ear and tell him which way to go." And so Tom's mother harnessed the horse and put Tom in the horse's ear. Tom called out, "Giddy up!" And the horse started walking. Now it happened that as the horse and cart turned the corner, a strange man was walking by and heard Tom calling out directions to the horse. "Look," he said to himself, "there goes a wagon, and the driver is calling to the horse, but the driver is nowhere to be seen." So the man followed the horse and wagon to the place where Tom's father was chopping wood. When Tom spotted his father, he cried out, "Whoa, boy!" Then he said, "Look, father, here I am." Tom's father lifted his son down from the horse and set him on the stump. When the stranger saw, he thought, "Look here, that little fellow could be useful. I should take him to town and have him do little jobs for me." He went up to Tom's father and said, "See here, old man, how about letting the little man go to town with me? I'll take good care of him and even give you money for your trouble." "No," said Tom's father. "He is the apple of my eye, and I would be too sad to let him go." Tom crept up into his father's shoulder and whispered, "Go ahead, father. Let me go. I'll be back in no time." "But Tom," his father began. "Trust me," Tom broke in. "I'll take care of everything." So Tom's father let him go with the man. Off went Tom, riding on the brim of the man's hat. That night, after traveling for several hours, the man came to a barn that was located next to a quiet house. He decided that the barn would be a good place to sleep and rest for the travels the next day. When he was all settled in for the night, the man took off his hat. At that moment, Tom scampered away and slipped into a mouse hole, crying out, "So long, my good fellow. Have a good trip without me." The man got down on his hands and knees and poked sticks into holes, but he could not find Tom. Eventually, he gave up. When the man left, Tom came out of his hole. He found an empty snail shell and said, "This looks like a safe place to spend the night." But just as he lay down, he heard the voices of two robbers whispering. "Yes," said one of the robbers, "this is the house. The mayor won't be back until tomorrow, so now is the time to rob his house. But how can we do it? Although the mayor is away, the cook and maid are still there, so we'll have to be quiet and avoid waking them." Tom knew he had to do something to stop the robbers, so he sprang out of his shell and shouted, "I have an idea!" "Who's that?" asked one of the frightened robbers. "Take me with you and I'll help," said Tom. "Who's talking? Where are you?" asked the robbers. "Down here," cried Tom. The robbers looked down, and there they saw Tom waving to them. One robber lifted up and said, "What's this, little one? How are you going to help us rob the mayor?" "It'll be easy," said Tom. "The mayor keeps his money behind iron bars, right? I can slip between the bars and hand the money out to you." "That's a fine idea, little one," said the robbers, and they snickered all the way to the mayor's house. Then they fell quiet and whispered to Tom, "Speak softly, you hear? We don't want to get caught." "Of course," said Tom. He sneaked into the mayor's house and slipped between the bars where the money was kept. Then he called out to the robbers in his loudest voice, "How much do you want? Do you want it all?" "Shh!" hissed the robbers. "Be quiet. You'll wake the cook and the maid. We can hear you just fine. Start handing out the money." But Tom pretended not to hear them, and once again he shouted, "What's that you say? You want to take all the money? I'll give you everything. Just hold out your hands." All the commotion woke the cook and the maid, and they came running to see what all the noise was about. When they burst in, the robbers ran away. Tom slipped away to the barn. All the excitement had made him sleepy, so he went to sleep on a big pile of hay. The next morning, the maid came to the barn and pitched a large bundle of hay with Tom still sleeping in it. The cow ate up the hay, and poor Tom slid down into the cow's stomach. "Goodness me," Tom said sleepily. "Somebody forgot to put windows in this house." Suddenly, splish! Something wet and heavy fell on Tom's head. It was a mouthful of hay. The cow was eating again, and more wet, sticky hay fell on Tom. He called out, "That's enough! No more hay! I'm quite full, thank you!" The milkmaid was milking the cow, and when she heard the voice come from out of the cow, she fell off her milking stool. When the milkmaid fell off her milking stool, she startled the cow, who then sneezed a big sneeze. Achoo! The sneeze caused Tom to come flying out. Yuck! Tom landed into a garbage heap where the milkmaid's family had thrown the remains of their dinner. Tom struggled to get up, surrounded by pieces of meat and vegetables. He had just managed to start standing up when, zing! A hungry wolf snapped up the piece of meat Tom was caught on and ran off with it. As the wolf ran, Tom bounced along and thought, "Well, this is an odd place to be." Then he said to the wolf, "Mr. Wolf, wouldn't you rather eat some delicious treats instead of this old piece of meat? I can show you where to find such treats." "And where might that be?" growled the wolf. "In a house I know," said Tom. "It's full of lots of delicious fresh food." Tom led the wolf back to his mother and father's house. When they got there, the wolf ate until he was stuffed. Then Tom called out, "Help! Help! There's a wolf in the house!" Tom's father came running with a big stick. He chased the wolf with the stick and sent him howling into the woods. "Good work, Father," said Tom. His father looked down and cried out, "Tom, where have you been? We've been so worried about you." "Well, Father," said Tom, "I've been too many places to count, and I think that from now on, I'd rather stay with you." "Oh, my dear boy," said his father, "I never should have let you go, and I never will again." The end. Wow, that was an excellent story. Let's have a quick brain break before we get into some questions. All right, guys, so for our brain break today, let's get our hands ready. We are gonna play rock, paper, scissors. Are you ready? Okay, so What we're gonna do is I'm gonna go like this, 1, 2, 3, and that's rock, paper, scissors. And then when I say shoe, show me what you picked, rock, paper, or scissors. Are you ready? Okay, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ooh, okay, so I got some of you, but the others, y'all got me. That paper covered my rock, and I smashed some of those scissors. All right, guys, so best 2 out of 3. We're gonna do it again. You ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, somebody cut my paper. No, but I covered a few of those rocks. Okay, last one. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, smash, y'all got me, but not everybody. That was a really fun game. I beat a few of you, but some of y'all really got me that time. So now that our hands and our brains are all settled in, let's answer some questions about the story Tom Thumb. So my first question for you is, why did the farmer and his wife name their baby boy Tom Thumb? It's an interesting name. Oh, you got that one quick. Because he's as big as a thumb, yes. So the farmer and his wife named their baby boy Tom Thumb because he is the size of a thumb. My next question is, what kind of person is Tom? How do you know? Right. We found out through the story that Tom is clever and helpful. And how do you know he's clever and helpful? Good job. Yes, he tricked the man and so he could get away, and he tricked the robbers. And he tricked the robbers so that he could help the mayor. Y'all are so smart. I think I heard some additional examples. You're right. When he helped his dad, when he was directing the horse, that was a clever thing he did, and he did it to be helpful. Good job, guys. Let's look at another question. Would you say that there is a lesson or something we can learn and use in our own lives in this folk tale? Because remember, folk tales, unlike fables, only might have a lesson. Did this folk tale have a lesson for us, the reader? Yes, it did. And I wonder, can you identify what that lesson is? Yep, even though Tom was little, he could do big things. And that goes for you too. You may be bigger than a thumb, but just because you're little doesn't mean you can't do big things. Okay, last question for this story. Hold up your thumb and look at it. Did you get a good look at your thumb? All right. I know that wasn't a question, that was a statement, but there is a question part. What do you think it would be like to be as small as a thumb? I want you to think about it, and I actually want you to share your answer to this question with somebody else. No. You're not going to tell me. You're going to go tell an adult or a friend or a sibling. What do you think it would be like to be as small as a thumb? I think it would be hard to find shoes, but that's just my opinion. Today we heard the word commotion. Can you say the word commotion with me? Commotion, good. And commotion means noisy excitement or confusion. In the story, there was a great deal of commotion when Tom made all that noise at the mayor's house to stop the robbers. I have some examples for you, and you're gonna tell me, what a commotion, if it would be considered noisy excitement, and if it's not, you will say, that's not a commotion. Are you ready? Okay, my first example is a big and noisy school assembly. That's right, what a commotion. Okay, how about a quiet dinner? You're right, that's not a commotion. Okay, how about students excitedly playing at recess? What a commotion. Okay, I wonder if you can get this one. A busy cafeteria where students are having food fights. Ooh. What a commotion, and somebody's in trouble. How about an empty, peaceful beach? You're right, that's not a commotion, but it does sound like a good way to spend the weekend. Okay, a classroom with students running around everywhere shouting. You guessed it. What a commotion! All right, and lastly, how about a crowded supermarket with too many people hurrying up and down the aisles? You're right again. What a commotion! Well, I hope there wasn't too much of a commotion while we were reading this story. And do remember, just like Tom Thumb, just because you're little doesn't mean you can't do big things. That's all we have time for today, guys.